Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the podcast where we're moving the conversation forward about the choices you make in your daily life. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm here right alongside of you, learning, growing, observing, and trying to make better choices consciously and subconsciously. Together, we're going to become better versions of ourselves and have raw, honest, open conversations about the things that truly affect our lives. And maybe, just maybe, finally get to a place where everyone else's BS doesn't trigger us. So yeah, we're going to dive into some clips that are just going to spark a conversation today. And I think we have to start, Abigail. This is something we've been laughing about in the background about these end of the days, doomsday stuff, right? And this morning you sent me, what was it? Was someone selling a course or a mastermind?
No, I think it was just him being pissy about about spiritual the spiritual community, but in particular practitioners who are out there in the world trying to heal people. And he's got a whole opinion on whether or not they have done the work. And it sounds like, I mean, obviously, we'll see it, but him having an opinion on why the world is going to hell in a handbasket.
What was that one with the oh, you can't see it. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, the creator Cole is the last one.
Is that the one? Okay.
Yeah.
What was the one above it where it was get your nervous system straight for the end of times? What was that?
That I found it. I was like, what is that?
Was that someone selling a course or a mastermind, or was it?
I think so. It's the subtitle is "Bring Balance to Your Body in a Broken World." And it does look like it's a workshop of some kind.
Oh my
It's
God.
a 3-hour
many
class.
marketing tips. I have so many marketing tips off of that alone that I'm like, no, bro, that is not the way to market your shit.
It's a 3-hour class. Nervous system support for the end of the world.
That's what got me. I was rolling so hard, fucking great tagline. Just cut to the jugular. What are people's fears? Is the end of the world? Because a lot of creators are talking about this, and we're going to jump into this clip, and we're not going to watch the whole thing because it's a 5-minute clip, but I like her. I think she's super cute. I like her energy. Obviously, New Zealand has a special place in my heart, and I think this video is a little bit better than the one we first saw, but let's just listen to it.
That might sound calm and that might sound peaceful. However, what it actually means is that we are in the calm before the storm. We are in a period of preparation because it's like the sea has pulled out, and when it comes back in, it's going to bring in a tsunami of energy and of a lot of different things going on. And so someone said in my comments that many other peoples and cultures around the world have said that this is going to be one of the worst years out. And I myself have talked about this year from last year, where I said after May, a lot of things are going to go down around the world, and they aren't going to be good things. Now, I have been accused of being negative and of being critical of what's going on, rather than being all love and light all the time, high vibration all the time. My job as a spiritual messenger is to pass on the messages that I'm given, and these messages in particular are about helping people to prepare.
I understand it. I get it. It is not all love and light, right? We all can easily sit here and say that through our own journeys, it has not been sunshine and rainbows coming out of the asshole, right? It just hasn't.
Totally.
But what My question is we all also agree that you create your reality.
Yeah. Nature also has an ebb and a flow.
Well, and I guess like this is just my personal opinion, and we all know I don't care what anybody thinks about my personal opinion. But for me, when I think about it, like you have to genuinely be careful and curious about who you're consuming your information from, because I don't know what frequency or energy she's operating out of. And depending upon where you're operating out of, you're going to get a message that matches that fucking frequency. So, like, if you are a negative Nelly who is like a doomsday spiraler, like, we are about to have the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse, everybody's gonna die, blah, 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 blah. Like, if you're that individual, of course, when you tune into things, that's the lens you're taking it from. And if you're not that person, you might come with a more grounded approach, which is like, from my perspective, like kind of how we all function here a little bit, which is that I know shit's about to hit the fan, but like, I'm not going to feed into that. Like, I don't need to feed into that. I'm going to choose to remain in my lane and focus on what I have to do and focus on the impact I'm here to make and just double down on that and keep my energy and frequency at a level that is clean and pure and fucking yummy. Like, that's the road that I'm going to go. And so you can be aware that, you know, like maybe the world is going to hell in a handbasket, or maybe we're being reborn, or maybe shit's crumbling to make something even better. But like, it's how you perceive that. I personally don't believe that we are all going to all of a sudden have no running water, no electricity, food's going to stop. Like the world is like, I don't believe like that is this extremist type of mentality. My 2 cents anyway. Abigail?
Yeah, I would say the only way that is ever going to happen is if like somebody, you know, John Galt's it. Like, have either of you read Atlas Shrugged? Like, unless a John Galt comes out of the woodworks and starts stealing all of the people who actually like make anything like run in this world, and like we all know that that's not the government, right? Like you nobody, I don't care what side of the line or in the middle you are politically, you all know that the government, the people who are in Congress and all that stuff, like the president, they don't mean shit. They're not the people who are actually like running things. Like they're nice figureheads. They're like the monarchy of America. And like the rest of the world's figureheads, same deal. It's the people who actually like built the technology to mine oil, the people who actually like built the technology to like get things from point A to point B. Like the people who actually understand how like electricity works. Like nobody who's actually like interpreting laws knows that. So like unless there's a person that starts taking all of those people out of society and saying, we're gonna go back to a gold standard in our little like hidey hole in the mountains of Montana or Wyoming, that's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen.
Well, and you can argue that some people on Earth are living in the end of times. They don't have running water. They don't have access to food. They are actually living in a war zone, or like so corrupt that you can't go out at night, right? Like, so my question
But
is,
would we really call that living in the end of times though? Or
well,
would we
exactly.
just call that as living in a war zone or being poor?
Yeah. So, you know, when you look at it, is that they are reality in our heads of like, that would be the end of times. It's like, well, fucking people are already doing that. And people are already finding ways out through coming up with new ideals and resources for their community. I know we talked about it, Abigail, on one is that like the fall of a society, who's left, maybe like the crazy people who can survive that shit, everyone else is ascended, and then they rise and create better societies. You know, look at Nazi Germany, right? Perfect example of the end of the world, really, for a lot of people, like worst thing that can happen. And look at the society now.
Yes, I guess for me, I don't think of war as the end of the world. And I think this is where a lot of people do. Like, if you were to ask people, like describe the end of the world for me. And they would say all these things.
Mhm.
They would basically start listing off where their luxuries started going away. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, though, that's not the end of the world. They're like, before we had luxuries, we were growing our own food, we were hunting and gathering. It wasn't the end of the world. What it was, though, was a more simplified or a harder living, depending on like which way you want to like look at it. The end of the world to me is like if an asteroid is like on course to hit the Earth.
Totally.
And like we don't have the technology to get our asses off Earth and far enough away. It's for the sun to implode because it's used up all of its nitrogen. Like, this is the end of the world, people.
Well, yeah, it's like I literally immediately thought of like the day after tomorrow. You know what I mean? Where it's like every natural disasters, like the world itself is pissed at humanity. And so therefore she's saying, fuck you humans, but I'm not. Like, the world is not going to die. Like, if humans decide to bomb each other and create some massive whatever, that's not the end of the world. That's just the end of humanity. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. And yes, yes. And this is where I'm like, and weather has ebbs and flows. There have been multiple ice ages, guys.
yes.
I know, newsflash. We're bringing some real deep wisdom to y'all today. But there have been multiple ice ages. There have been multiple huge, massive desert creating, like dry. I shouldn't say like that because ice is also dry desert, but like hot desert, right? Like,
Yeah.
asteroid come and hit our planet, and it just wiped out the dinosaurs. Like, mammals still survived. That's how we got here, Like,
yeah. Well, and like the truth is like we legitimately know this fucking much about this, like the overall lifespan of this planet. We don't know how many times I would say this shit to my husband. He'd get so hot about it, but I love this shit. I would say, like, we don't know how many times humans have lived and died and become extinct. We don't know how many times society has literally been turned over and it's like, oh, now now more water comes. Now we wash this out. Now how often times have overgrown. Like, I think the ice age, don't quote me on this, but I think what they said last time is it's like 3 to 5 ice ages that we can guarantee we've gone through. Okay, so like, what if an ice age happens to us in, another 1,000 years? We're just relics of the past. Do we even know that we exist? I mean, we're just humans. We're just humans. Like, I think like that's the thing is people like forget, like, you're literally an animal in bougie clothes. You're literally an animal wearing a fucking hat, like getting her hair done. You're an animal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that they were, like from camera perspective of marketing, and maybe not knowing this if you're just like a creator on the internet, you're not actually trying to run a business, but the way you phrase things, they are catchy and they get way more views because you do have a certain amount of people who are like, maybe religious, maybe buying into the end of the days type of thing, and they grab onto that, where I think the core of the message of like, sort your shit out so whatever comes your way you can deal with. You will, like, I joke with my cousin, she's like a hunter and a fisher. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make the clothes and I'm gonna grow the food and you're gonna fucking hunt, right? Like, we're gonna survive the end of the days together. You will, like, your human instincts, your animal instincts will fucking kick in. But I will just say, I will be the first today because I have no like fat on my body. And so like I will starve very quickly.
You're
I'm
done.
out.
I got a little bit of time left. I'll let you the rest. I literally watch Meat Eater simply so that I have enough theoretical knowledge that maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to hunt and like kill my own food. And
Go watch Alone and just realize you're fucked.
Alone.
Alone
It's
will be
Alone.
like,
It's
no, I'm
Alone.
out. I'm out. I will not survive a week.
Abigail,
I'm out.
We have talked about this so many times. Alone is first of all, Alone, in addition, yes, it shows you will die. Like, that is point blank. I will die. I am way too much of a bougie. I'm not a camper. I love outside. I love all of it, but I'm not that individual. Like, it would be terrible. But Alone also, Abigail and I have talked about this, how it's like more of a, like, this conscious spiritual journey that we watch these people go through on that show because they're alone. So, like, would that not also be a great mass spiritual awakening for the entire world at once?
Yeah,
right.
Well, because the people who win are mentally and emotionally stable, or can help themselves. All of them can survive.
In addition to being able to find enough food.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, so we've got a couple of different things. If something were to happen, we got a couple of different things that are in our favor that Alone doesn't have. Number one, we wouldn't be alone. So the whole, like, the part of what like kills them is the fact that they're having to expend all of their manpower on any one task. Like, they have to decide, okay, how much energy am I expending on building my shelter versus hunting or gathering my food? And if you aren't able to, like, create a good enough shelter before winter sets in, like, you're screwed. If you don't have enough food or can't kill enough food to like sustain you through the winter in your warm hut, you're also screwed. So, like, having a community obviously sets you up a little bit better, but then I think when you do have that community, the spiritual aspect of it doesn't necessarily need to like play such a huge role, because like you're sitting there talking and you're working shit out on a physical level, right? Whereas like in that scenario, they have nothing but themselves. So of course all they're thinking about is their community and how bad they fucked up and like how much when they get back, they just want to make it right with people. It's like none of them are sitting there going, I'm so evolved that all I want is a chocolate chip cookie when I get back.
All right, let's move on. This is what you sent me today. I have not watched it. I don't think Kim's seen it either.
That is why we're seeing spiritual people fall. What I mean by that, all these spiritual gurus, spiritual practitioners, all these modalities, people are seeing through the bullshit. People are realizing, no, you don't practice what you preach. No, this certification is not what I need. No, I don't need to have you heal me. We're seeing through that facade because what has happened is they themselves have not done the work of the West, the third phase of healing, shadow work. They don't know, and they don't have that scar on their heart of the sacrifice to hold their medicine that they're preaching. So many people will go out and get a certification, a 2-day certification that says, okay, now you can give combo. People go and get a certification that says, okay, you can lay hands now. You're a Reiki practitioner, go lay hands and move energy in people's bodies. They get a 2-day fucking certification. And so they do the East, right? They get the teachings, the words, the verbiage. They then go into the South, the actions. This is the modality. This is the mechanics. Now they shoot straight into the North. Now you're a teacher. Now you're a healer. Go do the work. Go spread it. And they are fucking people up doing that. Because what has happened is they have not gone through the West. They have not gone through that third phase of healing, which is the sacrifice. It is the endurance. It is how bad do you want this? They don't understand the pain that comes behind holding medicine. And that is why we're seeing spirit.
Oh, that is a rant and a half, isn't it?
I mean,
I got it.
like, okay,
Go ahead.
let's start from this angle, because for me, immediately, yeah, I do agree with him. I said this last night on our call, Abigail, like, if you are not a results-driven individual, like if you just show up and you're like, you know what, I just took this 2-day certification, now I'm this person, now I'm going to charge $1,500 per session, and you've literally never worked with a motherfucking human being, nope, you're wrong. 100% you are wrong. You need to go out, you need to get practice, you need to work with individuals, you need to see how your body of work moves through you, how you use that certification and make it your own. Like, that is very true in my eyes. And we do have, I just said this to a client the other day, like, I mean this with love, but like, I just saw the other day somebody who was like, picked up her first tarot deck literally a week before that and was charging like $200 per tarot sessions. Like, what? That's, you can't do that. Like, legitimately, that's where, like, I will say, like, this industry drives me bonkers because there is no standards. And the truth is a lot of healers, practitioners, coaches, whoever you want to call, they don't set a standard for themselves. They buy into this belief that this is what they're meant to do and that God will help them sort it out along the way and that that's enough. No, if we want to keep this industry legitimate and we want to keep this industry with where it has like a professional tone to it, where people actually buy into it and believe in it, you as the coach, the healer, the whoever you are, have to set the standard high. You have to set the standard, the bar for yourself and the results you get your people high. That's the truth of it to me. But then on the other end of it, like the way that he was talking about shadow work, like, listen, I've done some heavy ass shadow work. I've done it. I'm always fucking doing it, right? Like, if anything, I'm a masochist at heart. So I have to push that to the side and say, no, baby girl, you are fine. You are good. You are, right? But like, I would not phrase it the way that he just phrased that. Like, what did he say? Like, it's a sacrifice. You have to do the sacrifice. You have to want it bad enough.
Yeah, like that in doing the shadow work, you are showing your resiliency and your ability to have like endurance through it, and that it is a sacrifice. And in some ways, like, you are letting go of some things that you would otherwise like not let go, was my understanding of what he was saying.
Okay. Like, I can get on board with that, but even the language there is so sensationalized. You don't need to make shadow work worse than it is. It's already hard.
Yeah, it's called shadow work. It's like, we could just call it death. Like, get to it, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
also like super sensationalized.
I think it just comes back to a conversation I'm sure we've had already, is that people just want it easy. That there are so many quick fixes. We just want that quick fix. And then they get sucked into, like, even entrepreneurship. I think we're going to see the sensationalized, entrepreneurship that has been the last decade, which I got sucked into, but it's not the reality of it. And I think that's what people are doing in the spiritual world. We've talked about it, is just like, they haven't actually really shown up to their authentic place. And we can even see a celebrity, Jay Shetty, getting like, thrown under the bus, getting quote unquote exposed. I don't really know him. I haven't followed his stuff or anything, but I've seen a few things pop up that, he wasn't what he said he was claiming. And also something that resonated with me that I think, and I know you guys agree with this, is that the healers that say that I can heal you are the ones you should run away from. The healers who are like, I will help you heal yourself and show you the modalities that are going to resonate with you, and you can take that power back, is like where the magic is.
Oh my God, that reminds me of that conversation. I'm going to put it here. Remember that conversation, that woman that I was telling you about, who was like, I am the top 1% of healers in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can just heal you and like get on a call with me. Like, she charged somebody else who was not making as much money as me. She charged her $333, went to my Instagram, saw me, created a link, and was like, yours is $555. And I was like, well, that's some bullshit. Okay. So one, that happened, but I was like, whatever, I'm gonna test this out. That individual, to say, like, the language she was using was, it is me that God is working through, and I can instill the frequency codes inside of you. I can do it. That to me is just like an initial, are you like a dark magic dragon reptilian person? Like, who are you? What are you doing? Like, automatic no. I stayed on because I stayed on. But like, to think that like that no, like nobody else is going to. Actually, let me take that back. Yes, there are people who are deeply qualified at actually physically healing people. I've seen it before, like instantaneous healings. It does happen. But the long haul support, if you don't actually do something about the root cause, that issue, it didn't go away for good. You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's the person, you want the person who has the healing skills, but who is actually going to infuse the healing skills in your mind, in the way that you process, so that you can do it, so that you can see the power in it. That's like my personal opinion, I guess, on it.
And so don't you think that
It's
that
literally my
person,
entire tagline.
yeah, don't you think that person has to be of acceptance, right? Like no matter if you put it at like a high vibration or they're on their journey and they're getting to this level, you know, if you would have told me 15 years ago anything that I believe in now, I'd be like, no, hard no, like that's not true. Like, so don't you think that even if you got this like amazing healer and they're like, oh, if the person was like, I don't believe in that shit, it wouldn't quote unquote
won't
work because they weren't able to receive that energy, that healing, that vibration, whatever you want to call it. So I still feel no matter what kind of, you know, powers the other person has, it's still within inside of you. You still have to take that vibration and make it your own.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you can't run away from the work. That's just the end of it. You either go through it and you do the work, or you get these like surface level superficial results that don't last, period, you know?
As always, ladies, so much fun. Super, super honored
Always.
that you guys come and just talk shit with me. I love it.
I love it.
So obviously all the links are down below to connect with you guys. And really, until next month, I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again for joining us here on Choices. You can go ahead and leave a 5-star review because we're all friends here. But if you really want to move the conversation forward, please connect with us on our social media accounts, which you can find the links below. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time here on Choices.